Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to talk on one of the interesting topic which is going to be useful for generative AI aspect. So JSON format and TOON format. So let's see what is the difference and how this TOON format is going to be useful, at least from the AI perspective. So let's get started. So JSON versus TOON. JSON is a JavaScript object notation and TOON is token oriented object notation. So as you can see, when we talk to an AI via different prompts or whatever means of talking to an AI model, we have to pass on some information and AI understands that in terms of tokens. Now we, of course, we can pass n number of tokens, but then there is a limit from AI perspective how many tokens it can handle, let's say per request or per criteria. Now that is where the optimization matters. So that is why instead of JSON we prefer TOON format of data. So let's see. So JSON we know is a powerful data representation format. It is there from very long time and it is very efficient. But sometimes it can feel rigid when handling complex or interactive data. That's where the JSON tool comes into a picture. So what is a tool? It is a slight change in JSON that organizes data around tokens and object-oriented structure. So each token acts as a modular reusable unit, making user data more dynamic, understandable, and easy to manage. So let's see how is the representation. So if you see this JSON format, so we see there is a curly bracket and there is a key and there is a value. There is a key and there is a value. There is a key and there is a value. So for simple example, this is sufficient. But as you increase the number of key value pairs, if it is an array of data or if it is different type of data, nested data, then what happens is every time you need to pass the key and of course the value. Now sometimes it may happen that the key is always the same, but we need to anyway pass it for different set of data. So that is why this tool format came into picture, where it will identify whether it is a repeat or not. If it is a repeat, then it will try to make it optimized. So how it happens, let's see. So right, so let's see. So before that we'll see one example here. So this is a simple JSON array. If you see, there is a key value, and the same key is there and the same value is there. Okay, so if you convert this JSON array into toon format, this is represented in very simple terms as it's a length of 2, the key is name and key is active, and these are the values. Now if you see here, let me add some additional data. Okay, let me just, for the sake, I will put this as different names. Right, so if you see now here, if you see the traditional JSON format, the key is uh, discussed key is used 5 times and this key is also used 5 times. Now this is a problem when we are passing the data over an uh, over a communication channel. This is an extra data we are passing because we know always the key is going to be the same. That too, it is passed 5 times. This is active. This key is also passed 5 times. So that is, that can that be optimized? So that is where the tool format comes into picture, where it will say, okay, simply these are the key and these are the values. So if you see, there is uh, considerable text, considerable data is saved, and that is why it is more efficient. Also there is a the length here. Okay, so this is a very simple example, so let's make it a bit complex. So now if you see, this is JSON array and again we have key value, key value, key value, key value. So again it is taking 4 keys and there are different values. So again this is almost similar to this, but more number of keys. Okay, now, where is the problem in tool format is that, let's say one more example. If you see again the same example, but here in the third array object, in the JSON third JSON object, there is the other values, other key values like math and chemistry is not available. So let's say these are the two mandatory fields and these are the non-mandatory fields. So for the first two it is okay, but for the third one it is not okay. So in that case there is a problem in the tool, that In that case, there's a problem in the tool that it has to have unique keys. Okay, so now there is no unique key, so that is why if you see this earlier example, it is taking everything at the initially all the four keys, and there are repetition of values. So that is where this is a problem in tool. But then again, this is saving lot of memory, lot of space, and lot of processing at multiple places. So that is why it is used in AI or LLM architecture. So we'll see example also later, right? So same similar example. So if you see, um, there is a key value. So there is a key value, and then customer name, address, city, customer name, address, city. Okay, almost the same except that there is no brackets and all. Now if you see these items, so there are product key and price key and quantity key. These are the three keys, right? So if you see here, it is optimized the items length 2 and 3 keys and simply their values. Now if you see, these are the this all data is optimized with only this much text. So that is where the optimization, and that is where the cost and processing and time saving comes into picture. Okay, total price and status, total price and status, right? So let's see some theoretical aspects. That is where the toon format is useful. So design philosophy. So JSON was created for universal web data interchange and human readability. Toon is AI native, specifically engineered to minimize token usage in large language model workflows. So we will also see one example here. There is one more example here. So see, this is one data. Okay, this is one data or a JSON which is used for different LLM communication. Now, if you use it as a JSON and if you use it as a tool format, so then let's see how much token is required from LLM perspective. Just a simple example. Okay, so let's run this. This is a simple code. You can see this code in the GitHub. I will give the link in the description. Now, okay, so let's run this, right? So for a simple example with 4 rows and 1 2 3 4 key value pairs into 4 rows into 4 key value pair. If you see, if you pass it as a JSON, you will have to consider 101 tokens, and if you just use toon token, then it will be 49. So almost 50% less than the JSON. So that is where there is an advantage that if you use tool format in LLM communication, it will drastically reduce your token requirement, and thus it will save cost and money and everything. Okay, 52 tokens, so 51% saving, right? Okay, now here let's see one more example. So if I just remove these two, okay, so ID name is mandatory, and um, role and status is not mandatory. So for this, let's see how much saving it will do. So 89 token and 81 token, so 8% saving. Okay, right. So as I said, it's not like 100% improvement, but there is a considerable improvement if it is similar data. Okay, so that is where the advantage. And anyway, anything is more than 5%, 6%, even up to 10% is it is a saving. So let's see the toon format. Okay, so design philosophy we have seen it is AI native. Token efficiency, we have seen the token efficiency example. Then yeah, so tool reduces token counts by 30 to 60% by stripping away the syntactic noise, right? Then handling arrays. So in JSON, keys repeat for every object in an array. Tool uses the tabular array. Okay, so that is where this is a tabular array. These are the tabular arrays. Okay, so that is the advantage. Then structural markers. So JSON relies on symbol based delimiters like brackets and square. Toon primarily uses indentation based hierarchy similar to YAML and explicit line breaks for defined scope. So some technical changes are here, and that will save extra characters. Okay, schema awareness. So toon includes explicit guardrails like array length markers n and field headers. Field headers like in bracket in curly brackets. So these help LLMs validate data more reliably than JSON implicit structure. So we have seen the n thing here. So n is the length, okay, and this brackets. Okay, tabular name of the keys. So yes, schema awareness, and we will see a good example for this also in this program. Next is we have LLM accuracy. So removing redundant syntax in tool often improves the model accuracy. So let's say for one survey it has done from for 70% versus JSON's 70%, 74% versus JSON's 70%. So because the model can focus on the signal of the data rather than parsing symbols. Okay, data types and strictness. So JSON is a strictly symbol based but loose with types, for example data and strings. Some tool implementations type or object oriented notations embed explicit type information. Okay, so integer of value 28 and money of value, let's say floating 12.50 into the format. Okay, now use cases. So JSON remains the gold standard for HTTPS databases and configuration files. One major reason is it is being used for a very long duration. Everybody is acquainted with JSON, and there are a lot of code optimization, and there's already good libraries which are able to process the JSON. That is why it remains the gold standard. Tool is best used as a translation layer for feeding structured data into LLMs for RAG pipelines or agent memory. So from LLM perspective, where the tokenization and the token efficiency is one of the key factor uh, directly related to cost. So that is where tool comes into picture. Then tooling and maturity. So JSON, as I said, has a decades of optimized parsers and universal support. Tool is an emerging format which with evolving libraries in Python and other languages. Complexity. So JSON is superior for deeply nested irregular data. So as we have seen, if the JSON whatever we are using, if it is simple straightforward, tool is going to save a lot of memory and lot of power. And if you use this something which is very nested and there is not much uniformity, then still JSON is preferred because it is really giving the actual picture. Okay, now tool's efficiency drops significantly with high nesting, where it may even consume more tokens than minified JSON. Okay, this can be a practical case and no denial of this. That in certain cases, tool might be very worse than the JSON structure. Okay, so let's see a demo. So let's see one demo. Okay, so design philosophy. So we have seen, let's say this is a sample JSON. Okay, there is a key value, key value. So we have to use this tool library, tool package. So if you see in the requirements, we have to use Python underscore tool and tick token. Tick token is for this token calculation we have seen right now, and Python underscore tool I have used. Okay, so if you see JSON standard and the LLM prompt. So how to convert this JSON to tool, that is using encode function in the tool package. Let's run this. Okay, so JSON is this and the tool is this. Okay, also it is optimized. Okay, also it is optimized. Now going forward. Okay, so token efficiency, we have seen the token efficiency, it is 30 to 60%, sometimes 50%. So that is good. Then tabular arrays. So let's see this. So encode, I'm using the encode from to encode JSON to tool format. Okay, so this is the JSON. There are two objects and this is one array. Okay, so for array, if you see, it is using an array and there is only one row, so it is having the length and the values, and these are all indented. So if you see this one, this is indented format and it is very simple and easy to understand, and quickly depicts the picture. Okay, so that is for the tabular arrays. Next we have structural markers, brackets versus indentation. So again the same thing. So key and then object, key and then object, key and then object, right? So key and finally the object. So that is where the difference. Okay, so schema awareness, explicit guardrails. So array length is explicit in toons. So for example, tags 3, because there are 3 elements here, uh, like this. Okay, so this is, I would not say a limitation, but it is something which is explicit guardrail by default applied into toon format. So where it will show you the length. Okay, and sometimes there can be different length, so depends on the data complexity. But yes, okay, LLM accuracy. So right, so users. So let me just copy this one, right? So I'm again going to do encode, right? So extract the username from this data, right? So this is a prompt. So this is a full prompt where I'm passing a toon formatted data. Okay, so uh, we can pass the toon format data in our prompt only. Okay, this we can pass it to some LLM. Okay, right. Okay, data types in implicit and explicit strictness. So quoting only happens when necessary. For example, string contains commas. So just one example here. So if I use like this, okay, there's no comma here, so there's a key value. And if I simply say encode, then if you see this hello world is not in quotes, it is without quotes. Now if I simply say hello comma world, save, and then run. So if you see this hello comma space world is in double quotes. So that is the data types, implicit and explicit strictness. Okay, right. So moving ahead, tooling and maturity, native versus specialized. So JSON is built in many of the packages and libraries. JSON is a built-in function, whereas because Toon is this format is came recently, so it is not that much popular. So it requires a specialized parser, or if you you can, you have to install additional library packages and so on for that. Not only in Python but in other languages also. Right, now complexity trade-off. So this also we have seen. Um, Toon loses its tabular edge with non-uniform mixed array. Mixed type forces Toon a less efficient list format with hyphen markers. Okay, so let's see. So this is one JSON array, and there are, this is a separate JSON, this is a separate just a value, and this is a separate key value. Okay, this is a one special object. So because this is not uniform the way it is expected in the tool, so the efficiency and the speed and the other factors um, are not good in terms of this kind of data. Okay, so if you see every time, so length is 6, and then id text active id, so id is coming 2 times and so on. So that is where it might be a problem. But having said that, for whatever other reasons, if you see this reason, right, so at least for the data which is repeated. Okay, let's take yeah, at least for the data where it is repeated and all the key values are shown, this is going to save. So I would say if it is saving, let's say at least, let's say 5% onwards, let's say 5% of efforts, it is worth to use it in our project. Okay, right. So we have seen the demo for almost all the points here, and right. So that's it for this video. If you like this video, so please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.